Vilayat of Manali, His Excellency Mr. Cyrus Ijaz Qazi, Ambassador Islamic Republic of Pakistan, distinguished members of the media, civil society, dear colleagues, and dear students, Assalamu alaikum. On behalf of
the diaspora and our Turkish brothers and sisters, welcome to the Pakistan Embassy residence. What the Foreign Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister, the President of Pakistan have said in their messages encapsulates the terrible situation that is prevailing in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir for the last 70 plus years. These messages encapsulate and convey in grim detail the political, the diplomatic, the human rights dilemma and the tragedy of what is the Kashmir dispute and the Kashmir issue. In the long list of grim dates on the Kashmiri calendar, 27 October, 5th February, 14 July I think, 5th of August, there are reminders to us of the repeated, continuous and unremitting injustices that the people of Kashmir have been suffering, have been experiencing ever since the partition of British India into Pakistan and India. The sleight of hand, the fraud, the trick that was perpetrated on the Kashmiris and Pakistan and indeed the people of South Asia by the combine of Mr. Nehru and his team, Sardar Patel, and his accomplices, traitors in Kashmir, Farooq Abdullah and others, Mr. Bakshi and others, have probably they could not have imagined the cost that their trick would impose on the entire region. It has resulted in animosity between Pakistan and India. It has of course hurt in unbelievable manner the Kashmiris themselves. It has put on mortgage the peace and security and prosperity of the entire South Asian region. It has spurred an arms race. It has spurred the nuclearization of the South Asian subcontinent. It has given birth to an unremitting situation of either hot or cold conflict. If only the United Nations Security Council resolutions, an eminently sensible prescription that was given to both Pakistan and India to solve the issue, and which Pakistan accepted through, of course, its words and through its own heart, and which India accepted only on the face to buy more time, had been implemented, we would all have been spared this tragedy. So what do we see now in Kashmir? 8 to 9 million people in under the most difficult situation of hostageship, if that is the word. 900,000 occupation forces standing guard over them. No guarantee of any fundamental human rights, be it the freedom of expression, freedom from enforced and involuntary disappearances, freedom from arbitrary detention, freedom to go about their only peaceful daily existence. All those things that you and I take for granted as citizens of free countries are denied to the Kashmiris. They cannot even access the internet. Many thousands of websites are denied to them. Deliberately, the speed of the internet is kept slow, and this is in the supposed hub of the hub of IT technology in the world, India, and Indian-controlled Jammu and Kashmir. You can't take your injured to the hospital, and the grim and supreme tragedy is that you cannot even allow, they don't even allow you to bury your loved ones as you wish to bury them. We have all seen the drama and the tragedy that was perpetrated around the human remains of the great Ali Gilani Sahib. The manner in which his body was kidnapped. How low can you go that not only do you kidnap and cause living human beings to disappear, but you also take away dead bodies. How afraid can you be? How insecure can you be? And this by the words self-described biggest democracy. So on 5th of February, among the many dates that litter the Kashmiri calendar, there is a ray of hope. On this day, of course, we Pakistanis and we the diaspora of the Kashmiri diaspora remind ourselves of the sanctity, the sacredness of the struggle of the Kashmiri brothers and sisters. We also use this day to remind the world that they made a promise to the Kashmiris, and the Kashmiris will accept nothing less than what was promised to them. But above all, what 5th February does is that it reminds the oppressor, it reminds India that it cannot get away with this fraud. It has tried for 75 years to make the Kashmiris forget their right of inalienable right of self-determination. Time has not helped. Every new generation of Kashmiris is even more wedded to the idea of self-determination than the previous one. It has also not helped India that it has now come to the sheen on the idea of a democratic India is wearing off because of what it has been forced to do to somehow consummate or conclude or finalize and eliminate memories of the fraud that it perpetrated on the Kashmiris, but it has not worked. 5th August 2019 is a good example. When it happened, India thought that now finally it would be able to bury the Kashmir issue under a flood of force, under a flood of fraud, and now gerrymandering and reducing the Kashmiris to a minority in their own land. It has not happened. The level of oppression it has had to use has had to increase. The level of determination that the Kashmiris have shown against all of this combination of fraud, force and demographic influx has increased. The strength of the Kashmiri resistance has increased. The coverage of Indian atrocities in Kashmir have increased. So the message that unfortunately India has never tried to learn from the story of occupations of all other lands is that occupation never succeeds. In any contest between force and perseverance and love of freedom, perseverance and love of freedom will always win. The Kashmiris are teaching the whole world a lesson in this regard. They will not relent. We Pakistanis will stand with them until they get their right of self-determination, and we know that India is bound to fail. For 75 years it has not succeeded. It may try this for the next 75 years and it will not succeed. Freedom is not something that you have to have immediately. Of course it is good that you have it. Freedom is a national struggle, it's a historical struggle. If not this generation of Kashmiris, the next generation of Kashmiris. It is a baton, it is a torch that one generation passes to the next, and inshallah one day the Kashmiris will have their right of self-determination. Inshallah the blot on South Asia perpetrated by the force and fraud of the Indian polity on the Kashmiris and the entire region will be erased through the struggle of the Kashmiris and Pakistan's support for them and the support of all freedom and justice loving people in the world, of which our Turkish brothers and sisters rank in the first order. We cannot thank enough the Turkish leadership, the Turkish government, the ordinary Turkish people, representatives of them are sitting amongst us today for standing by the Kashmiris and for adopting a proper principled position on this. Inshallah, we will all triumph, and inshallah, force, fraud will eventually lose and the Kashmiris will get their right of self-determination. I thank you very much for coming out in such numbers this morning, this very cold morning in Ankara. But the flame of freedom melts everything, including the Ankara snow. Thank you very, very much.
Amin. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa la aqibatu lil muttaqin. As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya khatamul nabiyyin. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa la taj'al fi qulubina ghillan lil ladzina amanu rabbana innaka ra'ufur rahim. Allahumma innaka 'afuwwun kareemun قريب الأطفال فأنا يا غفور يا غفور يا كريم. اللهم إنا نجعلك في نحورهم ونعوذ بك من شرورهم. اللهم فاطر السماوات والأرض अंत वली फी दुनिया वल आखिरा तवफ़्फ़नी मुस्लिमन व अल्हिक़नी बिस्सालिहीन रब्बना तक़ब्बल मिन्ना इन्नका अंतस समीउल अलीम व तुब अलैना या मौलाना